welcome to the show. It's the Desi Crypto Show. B21 presents that, coming after a few days now. So welcome, Anil. Very happy, very glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, no, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So let's start. So give us an intro about yourself. Tell us more about yourself. Also tell us where you are dialing in from today.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm dialing in from Brooklyn, New York, and myself, I come from traditional finance background. So grew up in New York, New Jersey area all my life. Lived in New York for the past 6-7 years. And basically, when I worked at Bloomberg and Deutsche Bank beforehand. Deutsche Bank doing leverage finance. When I worked there with my partners, we basically fell down the crypto rabbit hole, and we were spending way more of our time at our day jobs looking at crypto rather than what our actual job was. So we knew we had to work in the space at some capacity. So basically, given our backgrounds and given that we were so excited and convicted in what was being built here, we thought if we could start a research firm and get paid to learn about what's going on, it'd kind of feel like cheating. So in 2018, we left our jobs and started a research company called Delphi Digital. And obviously, I'm sure we'll dig into the whole Delphi story throughout this podcast, but that's a little bit of my background.
So when you say you come from traditional finance place, so have you been a trader? You've been what role did you play there?
Yeah, so at Bloomberg, I was looking at more so like corporate bonds and looking at data analysis there. And then at Deutsche Bank, I was doing leverage finance. So this was like, looking at LBOs where you look at kind of risky companies and work with PE firms to hopefully turn them around. So for example, one deal that I worked on that was pretty became like a meme a little bit in 2017, 2018 was like the Toys R Us bankruptcy, right? I remember as a little kid that was like my favorite store to go to, and then a decade later I was working on the bankruptcy of Toys R Us, which was very interesting to kind of follow and see where they went wrong as a business.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to digress a little bit, but bankruptcy, when we first hear about it, it is like as if the business is closing down. But actually, we've seen in traditional finance, the bankruptcy word doesn't mean that the business will never flourish back. It's a typical thing saying that the business will not be able to pay its debts, but there's a big chance of restructuring and coming back, right? So give us 30 seconds on that.
Yeah, sometimes it's like a reset button almost, right? When you really go off the rails where it's like, okay, based off your current capital structure, you're just not able to raise more money either via debt or equity. So you just end up having to go down the bankruptcy route to find people who buy you at an extreme discount at that point, and have hopes to turn around the business. So with a brand like Toys R Us, there is some brand value there, right? And there is some nostalgia in that name. Just in the generation where even if kids weren't going to it, the parents maybe want to bring their kids back. That was the hope for the PE firms that were looking at that deal, right? So there were a lot of like easy things that PE firms and other potential buyers were looking at in that deal, where it's like, okay, obviously some steps that Toys R Us took wrong was like not going electric fast enough, right? They just let Amazon come in and eat their lunch without putting up a fight at all. It wasn't even close by the end of it. But when you have a bankruptcy like that, you sometimes have companies that are like, okay, if we do these few things right, we can at least get some upside on where it's falling to right now.
Yeah, I think it's the right way to think about it. And I think you gave a very nice definition. It's reset of money, right? So it's not closing down of your business, but it's reset of money. So very interesting. Talking about LBO, I remember I used to read this book called Enemies at the Gate, right? So this was about leverage buyout. So it was a fictional, I don't know if it was fictional or not, but it was an interesting one on LBO. So that's where we learned our LBO world about. So I don't know if you've read that or not, but yeah.
No, I have not, but I'm sure it was like one of the books that my MDs at Deutsche Bank recommended.
Yeah. So good, nice. let's switch gears, and nice to hear your story and relate to you. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about Delphi Digital. So what's Delphi all about? And we saw when we started doing our research about your Delphi Digital, we were supremely impressed. We want to hear from you what's Delphi Digital all about.
Yeah, no, yeah, I appreciate the kind words. So, as I was saying earlier, we did Delphi back in 2018, and we started as a research firm, right? But the first year, we really just did consulting for big funds like, Andreessen Horowitz and Block Tower, where we're looking at specific asset classes, like specific parts of the asset class, or specific assets within, a specific sector, and coming with our best investment takeaway. That actually helped us understand how investors and institutional investors in the space were looking at this market. And I think if anyone watching this has read a Delphi report, one thing that we kind of take pride in is like having a no fluff policy, right? So if you're reading something that we put out, more often than not, it's more signal than noise, because crypto has so much, even more than it did back when we got started. There's so much noise that it's hard to kind of look through that and distinguish what's actually signal. So for our clients, our biggest kind of focus is, if we're sending out an email, we're hopefully giving them something that they can learn about or find alpha in within that post itself. So that was how the research kind of subscription started. And when we first started, it was like it was impossible to get any crypto fund to subscribe to us, because they were all getting 80% discounts and then liquidity in 2 weeks, and they didn't need to focus on fundamentals, right? They were just like, I just need to have a good network and know which deals are going to be listed on Binance in 2 weeks, and I can just get into those. Whereas our team, we kind of throughout the bear, we just spent all our time only looking at the fundamentals. I think this gave us a huge edge early on. And, a big report for Delphi was one of our earliest reports. We walked through why the economics of E 2.0 didn't make sense from a security perspective. This was in early 2019. And that was a big report for us, because within 24 hours, we were on the phone with Vitalik, the whole E 2.0 core team. We were sharing our models with them. And then a month later, Vitalik pushed through a proposal, and he went on a podcast and shouted us out. And that's when the floodgates of consulting really opened for us, where we realized, instead of just using our research in the traditional equity research sense, if I'm covering a company like Apple, I'm not going to be able to get on the phone with Tim Cook, right? It's just not realistic. And on the flip side, I'm not going to be able to propose that hey, Apple, you should use 3% of your treasury to get into this market, because it's very synergistic. Whereas in crypto, that model was flipped in the head. One, via Telegram and Twitter, and as you guys have seen, just building up this show and all the work you guys have done in this space, it's very easy to get in touch with some of the most honorable and kind of hardest working builders in the space. Yeah. The whole ethos of crypto is openness, and kind of if you believe in that ethos, you're trying to help kind of the crypto community rise together. So everyone's eager to help each other in the space, which makes it very easy to really dig deep and find information that may not be right in front of you on the white paper or something like that when you talk to some of these teams. And then on the flip side, because these are naturally protocols that are governed by the community, because you're a community member, you can use all this deep analysis and work that you do to actually come away with some proposals. So immediately, that's when we started working with protocols like Aave, Synthetics, Yearn. Obviously, top of mind this year has been we designed Axie's governance token, AXS, and we worked with these protocols to understand exactly what their goals were, and then using their tokens to align those incentives, and also hopefully making it so the token accrued value based off that network growing, right? So that was where Delphi Consulting kind of emerged from. And, I can talk about the evolution of Delphi Consulting a little bit later on too, because we have taken steps to move even away from that and kind of progress on. But last year, the third kind of evolution of Delphi was this thing called Delphi Ventures, where now we invest capital into the projects that we think so badly need it. Now, capital is obviously abundant in this space. It's like probably it's insane how easy it is to find capital in crypto, right? But one thing that we pride ourselves on is being value-add investors, right? And that's been from day one our approach. And I think if you talk to any of our portfolio investments and ask them, who some of their most like value-add investors are, or who has kind of like been there, kind of like holding your hand every step of the way. Our team is definitely at the very top of that list, just because of how hard we work, and we really do become extensions of all the portfolio companies that we invest in.
Very, very, very impressive. So there are, I have like so many things to talk to you or to ask you about, and but I'm going to go step by step. So when you talk about research, so is this research largely just reading the white paper, or you actually try and get to the founder's head and try and understand what their thinking is? So what's the
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So it's a little bit of both, honestly. So when we research, we look at everything, not just the white paper and anything that the team has put out, but things on Twitter or blog posts or their Discord community. There's a lot of alpha in these communities itself, because these people become true believers of the project, and they will do a lot of the legwork for you too, right? Where they'll know which questions to ask, and what catalyst or what features or what parts of the vision to focus on. So the best part about the alpha in crypto is like it's everywhere. There's no one place that you can just find it. Talking to the team is obviously a huge benefit, and the best part about it is anyone in the space can do it, right? No matter if you're an Anon or if you're Delphi. Obviously, our brand has helped us get in touch with teams quicker and a lot easier. But when we started, we were nobodies, right? I reached out and I said, hey, I'm from a research firm called Delphi Digital. Most likely, back in 2018, I got a question of, okay, sure. But like, they were just happy that someone cared about their project, right? People are working so hard on these things. And if you take the time to actually understand what's going on and ask them, legitimate questions, it's almost like complimenting their work that, there's so many things to be interested about in this space that when you actually take the time to talk to some of these teams and honestly are honestly curious to learn more, it's like something that I don't think is you could put a monetary value over, right? It's like priceless for them.
Yeah, I think you said both things, which I totally correlate. I can say a lot of times community does the legwork. They have actually researched a lot of it, and there's so much of alpha floating around. It's about reading a lot of it, and then yes, and a lot of times what happens is that the community is actually driving the project. Community is actually driving the mind of the entrepreneur as well. So it's so true, and it's like you said, it's turned on its own head. This scenario, this is like community driving the projects, making it much more decentralized and community driven. It's extraordinary. Going to the next one, you talked about Axie Infinity, which is actually very, very fascinating story. We've had a luxury to talk to the Axie team multiple times. They came on our podcast. We've had multiple meetings as well. We enjoy talking to them. We understand what he means and where he's going after. We're fascinated by the stories he put together. Tell us more about how was it working with them? You did that governance token model. Tell us more about that. And I also want to hear more about what is your view about governance token. We've heard both, right? We've heard both sides. I've also read articles that governance tokens may come into the borderline security scenarios. But what's your take on it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, to answer your first question, actually, the story of Axie and Delphi is a really funny one. So basically, our first consulting project ever was given by Block Tower and Ari Paul. So obviously, shout out to them. They saw a lot of, I think they saw a lot of potential in what our team and I were building, and kind of the vision that we had for Delphi long term. So we're really grateful for those guys giving us a chance. The first project was actually they had this, but like most funds back in 2018, there weren't many around, but there was this narrative that gaming was going to be one of the first mainstream use cases for crypto. So it was very worth exploring. So back in 2018, Ari Paul, Steve Lee from Block Tower, they approached us and they said, listen, we think gaming is going to be this first use case. We want you to look at all the crypto games and come away with the best investment thesis there, right? So immediately, our first job at Delphi, my partners and I, and back then this was, Medio DeMarco, Jan Lieberman, and Kevin Kelly from our team. We were all best friends too. So our first job was we all just started playing every crypto game around. So, you can imagine, you can picture this. We were all in our WeWork, and the first job Delphi ever had, we were just all playing games, and we were all laughing about it, saying this is hilarious. That this is like what we're getting paid to do. It wasn't
That's primary research. That's primary research, right? Doing it.
No, we were on the ground level. We knew the only way we could learn is actually playing these games, not reading about it or anything like that. Actually playing. Immediately, there were some games that had insane user numbers, and I'm not going to call any of them out, but it was very obviously that these were like juicing the numbers up. I hopped in one of these games, and immediately I just saw two players sending a ball back and forth together, but I saw 8,000 daily active users, and I was like, oh, this is just how many times they pass the ball back and forth together. So like you could tell that the metrics were all like not real, where if a fund like Block Tower were just using metrics, they probably would have invested in that game. So by us playing that game, we were able to say, okay, this is fake, not even worth looking at it. They're just juicing up the numbers, and the game just sucks. Axie was the only game out of all those games that we saw where the game wasn't revolutionary, but it was like more fun than anything else we were playing. And also the community and the team was just like, it was just on a league of its own relative to everything else we were seeing. So our investment takeaway, and we actually wrote this in a post. You should link it in the show notes. It's called "Why We Spent 159K on Digital Battle Pets." We made it public. It's we purchased some Mystics last year. Early in that post, we actually have a screenshot of our first ever Delphi Digital report, where one of the pages is just us talking about how Axie is the one game that you should pay attention to, and that Block Tower should probably buy some Mystic Axies, which I think probably would have been the best, return if they had done that.
You're talking about 2018. Wow.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah, this is 2018. So it's a great post. I definitely recommend everyone reading it. It's probably one thing I'm very proud about. But we kept up with the team, right? Actually, Jeffrey Jiho from Axie, he was the first person to ever visit Delphi Digital's offices. And he was just traveling, and he was like, oh, like exactly what I was saying earlier. He was just so impressed that like someone even cared and was asking all these questions about the game that they were building. Because back then Axie didn't have, the Axie today has what, 1 million daily active users. Back then they had like 10, like they had like a dozen, so the community was very small, but we could tell it was very strong. So that was like the way that the connection got established. But the best thing about that was we kept in touch with them. We saw them continue to build through the bear, and saw these guys just not give up, right? They were working tirelessly night and day to build the vision that they had for this, not just game, but the metaverse of Axie. And obviously now 2021, 3 years later, it's top of mind. Finally they're, almost become like a crypto household name, right? So yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see kind of the success they've had, and I think they're just getting started. They approached us for the token back in 2019, and back then we were still in a place where we were, we bootstrapped the whole business, so we didn't really have much money to even pay obviously not pay ourselves, because we were just using our savings to fund our own life, but even like pay rent and to hire employees. So we asked Axie like, hey, can you give us X amount of cash? It was like a very small lump sum, and Axie turned around and was like, hey, we're broke too. Axie was like, we have no money too. So, we were able to we kind of took a bet on, them actually being able to build something. So we took most of that pay in tokens, which obviously ended up working very well, but it also aligned incentives very well, right? So it was like, we want this token to do well, and we need to, really put thought into designing it to actually make it something that is, worth something, So, I like that, style of consulting more than the traditional side of consulting, which seems a lot more malicious and where you're just kind of trading. You're getting the short-term benefit in traditional consulting, right? You're getting the payment, but you're not getting any of the long-term consequences of your decisions. Whereas that business is mostly, it's very expensive because they're making that payment upfront, and they're gonna have to deal with the long-term consequences of that decision. So I always thought that in crypto, consulting could be a lot more aligned because you give people directly upside in kind of what you're trying to get value from. So that it was amazing, but really proud of those guys.
Very, very nice. So tell me the second question. What do you think? Was this the first governance token? Did it? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not the first governance token, right? I think governance token, like, you could argue like even all these layer ones are governance tokens in their own right? Just owning them, but there were definitely DeFi protocols, like
kind of, yes, you can say, but okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, like even Maker was obviously around it, etc. I think it was the first governance token that we designed where for a game where the revenue from the game is actually going directly to the players. So right there, I think if you look at Axie's market cap today, I don't even know what it is. It's probably maybe 10 bill or something like that. People are always like, whoa, this is valued at so much. The crazy part about it though is most of that AXS in that treasury is actually for the community, right? So it's actually ammo for the community. So it's a benefit that it's valued at such a big thing because they have way more ammo to spend and actually grow this metaverse. So obviously Axie has like staking coming up, I think this quarter or next quarter, and land gameplay, but they also have things like an SDK coming out where they're going to be able to let their community use this IP, right? Like Axie is like actually like a brand now, and build games around it. So all of a sudden it opens up kind of like what can be created for Axie Infinity. And I think that's when it's going to click in a lot of people where it's like, okay, these people built, I think a lot of people say, oh, the Axie game isn't fun. I totally understand. I personally like, I like different types of games. Like I like FIFA and like shooter games, things like that. Like Axie, where it's like kind of like a battle card game. It's not my favorite game, so I totally understand that. But with the SDK, these other other game types can be created on top of that IP. So I'm really excited about kind of the future of Axie and them honestly just pioneering a lot of things that other I think gaming as a whole is a sector that our team at Delphi is just very excited about. And I think the mainstream kind of got excited about like what's the potential when they saw Axie, but it like you talk to a lot of these traditional investors, like they have no idea what's coming, right? Like yeah, so it's gonna be fun, I think.
Well, one thing which we are extremely excited about Axie is about their Ronin chain. So which I think is so what actually it was interesting. So Axie is the third most used contract on Ethereum, which is a statement in itself, right? So I think Uniswap and Tether being the first two. So it just speaks of Axie itself. So and they're coming on Ronin chain. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting once they launch. So I don't know, it should be very, very soon. So yeah, very interesting. On the governance side, you think, what's your take? You think it's a controversial point, but do you think it's still a security, or what's your take on it?
Well, that's an argument for governance tokens. Yeah. Is that like if you're decentralized enough and your community is making those decisions, then I think you can be argued that you're not a security, right? Obviously there's certain decisions that immediately kind of like push you closer to the line, like if Uniswap and its community all of a sudden turn on that fee, I think there's going to be some kind of security like dividend there that regulators are going to be upset about. But I think on a long enough timeline, and hopefully we get more clarity around this, because I really do think it's like a pain point in the industry that we don't have enough clarity on how we can move forward here, because like these protocols can't be governed by the old regulations. It's just impossible. I think regulators are smart enough to realize that too. So I'm hoping that they, make the right decisions. I think they are, you know, they are understanding of not stifling innovation. So I'm hoping that that kind of like fear of stifling innovation actually helps them make the right decisions. And, one of the benefits of the crypto industry is like, if they actually try hard enough to get in touch with people in crypto, like we will spend time to help educate them and help work with them to, put up certain, guardrails for the things that they are concerned about, right? But like, stopping U.S. investors from receiving airdrops that are worth, tens or hundreds, potentially thousands of dollars in like DYDX's case, it's not protecting investors, right? It's interesting. It's a very tough thing to manage, and obviously, I'm not a lawyer by any degree, but it's something that is top of mind for I think everyone working in the space right now.
Yeah, I think you have very very valid point. Let's go to the next segment. I think we have 10 few minutes more, so I'm going to take this. So, what are you extremely excited about? What do you see the next steps in crypto? Tell us a little. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I'm bad at answering the question because I'm just so excited about everything going on.
May just give us from a high level perspective.
No,
is it
absolutely.
NFT gaming or what? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll give you like a little bit of I'll give you why I'm excited for each
Yes,
kind of like big sector of crypto, right? So obviously, I'll start off with DeFi because I, coming from a traditional finance background and working at, banks, DeFi is just like the innovation where it's like 0 to 100. I think it's just, no matter the regulatory landscape and how hard regulators come down on it, because it's a global movement, it will find its way because the product is actually that valuable to different, to different audiences, it has a different value, right? And that's like my favorite part. But I think the cool part about it is in DeFi, you've already had the base like Legos kind of created. And now because of that, the next maybe 12, 24 months, you can just have limitless innovation, especially as you achieve scalability through some of these layer twos, and you get a little bit more traction on one of these layer twos where the tech actually is something that is people not only are able to build on very quickly, but also are confident enough to build on it because they know that that's the layer two. I think right now it is like a cloudy era of layer twos because there's so much going on that the innovation is a little bit fragmented across chains because each chain is offering incentives. So not necessarily the best tech is going to win. It's kind of like the best incentives are going to win near term. I hope long term the tech will win, but it may be very well the case that the best incentives are able to just bait everyone over, and that's the tech that ends up having to win, right? But I do think like you will see kind of this golden age and this renaissance of DeFi applications that we couldn't have 12 to 18 months ago just because of the scalability concerns, and also because we didn't have a lot of these Lego pieces that we have today. So that could just keeps compounding. Then NFTs, gaming, DAOs. That like one of my favorite part about crypto is like all the different funnels, all the different rabbit holes that you go down. So last year I think you had let's just use like rough numbers for approximation. Last year we can guess DeFi maybe brought in, I don't know, 1x the users that were in crypto, DeFi summer, right? And earlier this year, that NFT hype cycle, which I'm not talking about right now or even the past month or two. I'm talking about literally Q1 when you had NFTs on SNL and like everyone was starting to come in. I think that maybe brought in 10x the amount of users that were in crypto. And then, our thesis for a while was like a game like Axie and these gamings were going to be the next 100x. And I think you kind of saw Axie really take its lead there, which, I was really proud to see, but also was unexpected to even us. Like no one on our team expected Axie to go that bonkers. Like it was just insane. They're tied for the most Discord users with Fortnite. Like I don't think people realize how big that in itself is. Like Fortnite and Axie are tied for Discord users. That's ridiculous. So all these different funnels are the best because it's like the people who came into that NFT hype cycle were people who would never have come in no matter how crazy DeFi would have gotten. Like most likely they just only would have come down that NFT cycle. So this is why I'm excited for all these different funnels, because like you can't count any of them out, because one, they all bring valuable participants in, valuable creators in. I think the creatives that are coming in on the NFT side right now are thinking in a whole different ball game than, you know, teams that are thinking about in the DeFi space, right? So it's honestly beautiful, but also the best part about all these sectors are they're all going to converge, right? So DeFi, NFTs, gaming, it's all going to be the same thing. So it's like you're getting all these people who are actually ending up working for the same thing, which is crypto in general, right? So like for me, it's like being like long crypto is just being long human ingenuity, right? Like it's a bet on kind of humans and their intelligence and kind of us figuring stuff out. There are obviously a lot of like hard problems to solve, but that doesn't make me any less bullish.
Yeah, and you said it, you said out of right there, out of New York, and it's the financial hub. So what do you see as your friends, colleagues, early partners, and even beer or conversations or going out for a club and in a club, and you, what do you hear about them talking in terms of crypto? Means there's still a lot of traditional finance happening, but are they all trying to move towards crypto? Are they still saying that it's wild west there? What have things changed in the last few weeks and months, or maybe over years?
Yeah, things have definitely escalated a lot, right? Like I remember when we started Delphi, talking to people about Bitcoin was like impossible. You know, like and now it's not a question of, you know, what or why. It's like, okay, which, you know, like what should I be looking at? And this is from every part of the stack in traditional finance. Like whether you're talking about banks, biggest institutional investors in the space, high net worth individuals, everyone's curious because like, you know, FOMO is a very powerful like feeling, right? I think, you know, embracing that crypto has one of the most powerful FOMO effects is something that is like a benefit of crypto. It's not something to shy away from, just human nature. Yeah, I mean, it's been incredible to see the shift in thinking. And, you know, I think, you know, if you're looking at venture capitalists, they're like, you know, NFTs click for them because it's a consumer facing product. And it's just something that, you know, it's not easy to get onboarded and buying NFTs and, you know, going on OpenSea, etc. There are hurdles there. And the fact that it's doing so much volume and getting so much interest is like, it's product market fit at its finest. Same with DeFi, right? Like DeFi has tens of billions of dollars locked up already. And it's like, you know, I'm an avid user of it and it still sucks, right? Like it's still I know. It's still not the easiest thing. I mean, it's my favorite part about it is at Delphi, we pay our employees in both, you know, half our employees are being paid in fiat, half our employees are being paid in crypto. Paying people in crypto is the easiest thing ever. In fiat, sometimes I get denied, sometimes I log in a bank account, I have to use this authentic, like all this stuff. It takes so many days, they don't know if they received it. It's like the biggest headache. So you know, although it is hard to use and like it's not 100% there yet, I still think there's an argument to be made that it's better than traditional finance in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's insane. So
do you just send Bitcoin, or do they want to take in stable coins?
No, so a lot. It all depends on what they would be paid in. Most people are being paid in stable coins. We actually have one of our employees, we invested in something called Superfluid, where we can stream payments. So instead of this employee getting paid just once a month, this employee has his salary streamed to him. So every second he's getting a little bit of money.
I think that's the interesting part, right? That's like power of actually blockchain and crypto. You can actually pay penny by penny. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good. I think that the stable coins. I am pretty bullish on stable coin as well. I think that it has started become an anchor point for not only crypto but also just like you said, only all money remittances. Like it's so easy and it's so phenomenal. Like it's so easy to pay. We were watching some of the other YouTube channels and Sam Bankman, SBF, was saying the same thing. It's so easy to pay. If I have to invest using crypto like this, if I have to go to the bank account, first of all, they need to have a bank account. I need to send it to them. There needs to be a documentary proof, etc., etc. While I do think that those arguments have to be there on blockchain as well. It has to be compliant, but I think it's so easy, and that's what we do all day long. It's stable coins. It's like it's a great anchor point there. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And I think that I'm just going to ask you and in a way put some of my thoughts here, that I think there's so much more innovation that has to happen. What's happening today is that the regulators are not yet caught on to the innovation. Like if you think about till um, till 6 months back, or maybe 8 months back, we were all talking about DeFi. It was like DeFi summer, right? And till the time the regulators were able to wrap their heads around the DeFi stuff, now we're all talking about NFTs and gaming and even more further down, right? And so it's like the rate of innovation is so fast that the regulators and some of these traditional finance guys have to catch up. So and I think that's going to happen more and more. We will see much more innovations here, and sometimes it's just so appalling to see that people just don't understand the basics, because the rate of innovation, you and I, we eat, sleep, drink crypto, right? 24/7, right? And it's not easy to catch that rate by everyone. I mean, even we see people in crypto are still not so easily. I mean, I personally sometimes don't I'm not able to catch up to the para swaps and para chains which are happening, right? So it's still right. I mean, that's just one of the topics I still get my heads wrapped around. So the rate of change is so fast. So, and I think there's so much more innovation to happen. We're still at like you said, in 1 to 100, we're still at 1 or 2 levels on the innovation side. So much to happen there.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think we've exhausted the time. It's been a fascinating, fast conversation, and I think that it was lovely. We could kind of relate to what you said. We learned a lot, and I think so will our audience. There will be. If I were watching this, I would actually pause and watch it again because there was so many things spoken. I know there's a possibility of time, but we would love to have you once again. And actually now we may want to drill down and deep down, go into more details of one specific conversation, and maybe innovate together on the show. So would be lovely to have a brainstorming session someday.
No, absolutely. I'm more than happy to come back anytime. Really appreciate the time, guys.
Yeah, just one last point. How should people approach you? Are you taking projects? Are you open for approaches? What are you looking at more? So just give us some of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, on Twitter, our Twitter is just at Delphi _digital. My Twitter is at Anil Delphi. And then, the best way to get in touch is honestly, tweet at us, DM me on Twitter. If you have, anything to talk about, I usually end up reading all of them, even though it may take me a few days to get back to you. And yeah, I mean, we're always just looking for people who are passionate about the space. We're looking to, add value, right? That's like the overall mission of Delphi, very simply put, is to make crypto happen sooner and better than it would without us. So anything that helps us make that goal come to reality is we're gonna, take seriously.
Perfect. So I think that's the end of the conversation. We really enjoyed you having on the show. We would love to have you again in a few weeks' time. There will be much more innovation we would see happening in this industry. And yeah, it will be lovely. It was a great conversation. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Yeah.